My PiBurn grip. Will it work with the Aurora LITE? Today on Laser Nug. I had the same question myself as many of you have asked. Today, I'm going to connect up this PiBurn grip. We'll go into LightBurn. We'll do a simple engrave. I picked up some inexpensive stainless steel rings off of Amazon just for testing. And we're going to do a few engraves. The Aurora LITE has a 7-pin connector for your rotary, just like the Bolt. So before we plug it in and fire it up, just a couple of things that may be helpful. One, the process in LightBurn is a little bit different with a fiber laser than it is with a CO2. I'm going to put a link down below to a Thunder Laser USA video that's on YouTube on their channel, and it points you through to the knowledge base articles, as well as walks you through setting up a check type rotary. Not necessarily the PiBurn grip itself, but the process is generally the same. I'm also going to put a link to the Lens Digital website because they do make mounting feet for the PiBurn grip to mount to the workbed of your Aurora LITE or your fiber laser. I just haven't picked them up yet, so we're going to just modify it or pull a bit of a MacGyver today to get it to work, just so we can demonstrate and walk through for you good folks. Let's do it. So we can place our PiBurn grip into the Aurora LITE. Because I did a kind of a poor job at making my cabinet, my Aurora LITE sits below the level of my workbench. So what I'm going to do, just to give myself a little extra space, so I'm just going to raise it up here, because I need to be able to arrange my PiBurn grip such that the chuck itself, or the spindle, sits roughly below the lens on the Aurora LITE. At some point, I'm going to purchase these feet for the galvo bed so I can properly secure it down. But for today's example or demonstration, let's just leave her up here, and we'll do what we need to do to make it work for us. We're going to be engraving a stainless steel ring today, so I've just put the appropriate attachments onto my grip, and that would be these L-shaped brackets. That way I can get a good grip on the ring. I have my rotary in place. I'm going to level it as always. And don't worry about the position of your grip yet. We're going to get to that in a minute in LightBurn. We'll take one of our stainless steel rings, our calipers, and we just want to get the diameter, just like we would if we were doing any type of a tumbler. And I've got 0.986 inches. Let's get it onto our grip, tighten our jaws. Jaws are tight. And let's plug in the rotary. We jump into LightBurn. I've just put a simple engrave here, something that means something to us. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to step through this because there are a couple of subtle differences between using a rotary on the fiber laser versus on our Bolt CO2 laser. So as you know, one, we have a smaller workspace. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the right, and I'm going to click on my rotary. We know that the PiBurn grip stays the same just as the Bolt. It's a chuck. We want it to return to its starting point after it's done. I just kind of like that setting. You don't have to. The split setup, I could try to discuss this or explain it, but I think when you watch through the Thunder Laser USA video that I've given you the link to, I think Chris does a far better job explaining many of these things. The key is we're not going to pay attention to this yet for today's exercise. Under rotary settings, we know that the PiBurn grip has 8,220 steps per rotation. So that stays the same as with the Bolt. We know that the diameter of my ring was 0.985, I think it was. So you'd type that in there, and of course, nothing changes. It automatically calculates your circumference, which is just over 3 inches. You want to make sure it's on the y-axis, same as you do with the Bolt. You'll see the direction there. And I haven't done anything with these, but I think, as Chris has mentioned, we don't touch these. I can click test to see if the rotary will actually spin or not. So we'll give it a click to test, and sure enough, it does spin. So we know we have connectivity. So we know we're set up. We have our object diameter, just like we would with a tumbler or anything else. Our material's in there. We're going to click OK. Now I'm going to come back to my engrave. I know that my circumference of that ring is about 3 inches, so I'm going to come up here to the left, and you'll see that I've adjusted my width to 2.9 so that it should go right around the ring without overlapping. I'm going to press the P key. P as in Potter, and you'll see it drops down your engrave to exactly the middle of your work bed area. Then I'm going to, as normal, I'll push the period key to flip my engrave 90 degrees. And what I want to do, and you'll see Chris do this, is I'm going to use my arrow keys and just bring it over to the edge of my work area for my laser. I'm going to come down here to the right, and hopefully you folks have already loaded the materials library that's free, that's available on the knowledge base from Thunder Laser USA. If you haven't, I'll put a link up here and show you where you can find it and load it. But you'll see they've already provided us some stainless steel engraving settings: black, gold, gray, and white. I've already tested a few of them and I'll show you some results shortly, but I'm going to use the gold because I kind of like that. I'm going to come up here and make sure that my black layer for my engrave is highlighted. I'm going to click on my gold engrave, come over here, and I'm going to assign it. And you'll see that my settings instantly changed. So now I have the settings for my engrave. It's a stainless steel fiber setting. Here at the laser, you'll see my two focus dots are sitting down here on the rail of my PiBurn. I'm just going to move my bed over for now so I can get it onto the ring itself. And I'm just going to take a minute to focus on the ring. There we go. That should be it right there. However, I'm not in the right position for engraving. So I'm going to move my grip back somewhere around the middle for now. I'm just going to take a second to disable my door switches. Okay, she's flashing and disabled. I'm now going to come over and click Start. And you'll see you get a different menu that comes up. It's the Rotary menu. It tells you the split size and overlap. After you've watched that video from Chris at Thunder Laser USA, you'll see here he set it into the smallest slices with a small or minimal overlap. You'll see here at 0.985, that was the object diameter that we had initially put in. And it tells you where your output center is. And what this tells you is where the center of your engrave is going to occur relative to the lens on the Galvo laser. Similar to when we put our rotary into the bolt and we have to make sure that the rotary is exactly parallel with the X gantry. This tells you where the output is for the center. And if you take a look at what happens in the laser when I click the word show, here we go. It's giving me a horizontal line telling me where the center is or where it wants to engrave. So I have two choices. I can either click show and I can try to move my grip, or I can click here and I can click the up or down arrow and I can move the center. Click show again. There we go. And remember, on your grip, there's a tiny little set screw back here, and that's what we use to center the unit. And we can also check with a square to make sure that that horizontal line is in fact running parallel or right on top of the middle of your PiBurn grip plane. Click show again. Looks like I'm in pretty good shape. And I use this for now to set up my center. And I can tell I'm pretty good there. Once I get the brackets for this, I'll be able to put it right into place and keep it perfectly square. In the meantime, I can use a square or measure to make sure that I've got a nice horizontal plane. I now know where the center is. And here on the screen, I can click go to 0, and that will zero or tell me where the 0 spot is for my engrave. When I click frame, you'll see that it's framed it in behind the PiBurn. So I can move this forward and you should see it slowly get to the ring. There it is. I haven't quite delved into exactly what this rotary framing is, but what it appears to do is it shows you by segment as it's spinning the rotary how many segments there are that it's going to be engraving, and it'll take you and show you what the rotary will do. At the end of the day, we've framed it. It's in place. I've got it as square as I can without using brackets, and we're going to do our engrave. Let's click our start and we'll see how she engraves. Watch here, it's telling you the elapsed time, but it's also telling you which slice or how fast it's going through its slices. We have 6,705 slices to complete this engrave. And it's just giving you a constant status update. A couple of things I wanted to mention about working with this rotary on a fiber laser. If I had the proper clamps, I'd be able to clamp it right down on the workbed. But in this case, for the purpose of the demonstration, it was just easier for me to move the unit around, as opposed to if I had the clamps, I would have clamped it in place. Then I would have played with my center line, and instead of engraving here at the far right, I could have simply used my arrow keys and I could have moved the engrave over to where the ring was sitting in the grip of the PiBurn. And the other thing to point out, which I think you'll find Chris talks about in a little more detail on his Thunder Laser USA video, is this setup for split size and overlap. I think that probably changes based on the type of engrave or the detail of the engrave and the size or the type of material you're using, and I haven't got a good grasp on that yet either. So there's definitely still lots to learn. So we're about a 4.5 minute engrave. We're done. So I'll close this window. Let's take our ring out and take a look at it. And remember, being stainless steel, it's going to be warm to the touch. Yeah, that is. The stainless steel settings in the material library from Thunder Laser USA provide a pretty nice engrave on stainless steel. This is the gold, and you can feel it's a reasonably deep engrave. This is your gray. It is an engrave, but it's a much lighter engrave. And this is the white, and the white is more of a mark than an engrave, but it comes up really nice, crystal clear. I also played with the black. The black is going to give you a really deep engrave relative to the others, and it comes out really nice as well. Just a much deeper engrave. Yeah, that came out really nice. So hey, bit of a rushed video today, but I know several of you had asked me, and I had the same burning question myself. Big thanks to the support folks, Stan and his gang at PiBurn or Lens Digital, as well as the folks at Thunder Laser Canada, Thunder Laser USA, and Thunder Laser. Because I kind of put the all call out there because I actually wanted to know myself if the grip would work, and it does. I'm definitely going to order up some of those clamps for the workbed so I can clamp that unit down, and that way I don't have to worry about it sliding out of place or not being perfectly parallel to my engrave line. Does a good job though. Thanks so much for hanging around. I hope you found it helpful. Have a great week. Please be kind to each other. And I'll see you again right here. I'm Gord Potter, and you've been watching Laser Nug. Cheers.